Is that video or is that a photo? I think it looked like it took a picture.
No, it's video.
It's video already. No.
That's what happens in the Android world.
Ah.
It's a very foreign world to you and I.
Look where I am, ladies and gentlemen. I am sitting here at the Crown Hotel with none other than Marie Buskey, who many of you will know already, who is the organiser of Knit August Nights!
Hey! Yep, certainly am, and it's so good to have you here.
I'm so excited. Marie and I have been talking about this for six months, something like this, and we've been doing lots and lots of Skyping and making sure we've got to know each other very well. And I feel like I've known this lady for such a long time, and then we met today at the airport 4 hours ago for the first time ever. I know. It's the weirdest thing.
And I bought you, well, it was sunny when you arrived. We've gotten a little bit, you know, blustery now. We're looking a bit windswept, but that's okay. We're here, and I mean, we've been talking about Knit August Nights, which is why you're here, but we also hatched a plan, didn't we?
We did. Marie had this fantastic idea, and she said, do you want to do a yarn collaboration? And I was in a space where I was just saying yes to everything. And so I said yes to Marie, and it's happened.
Oh.
Marie has a range of yarn already called Moody Hues, which is a blend of reclaimed, recycled fibre from the mill, and possum blend as well. So possum gives it a really, really lovely softness and a real unctuousness, which is really, really lovely. And she said to me, well, why don't you design some colours for it and put together a range? And so
which we did.
It's been so exciting.
It has been really exciting because, I mean, when you create something from scratch, I mean, that's the difference with us because we are a mill, so we're making the yarn from scratch as opposed to just taking a blank base yarn and putting colours over it.
Yeah, so you can put the twist in that you want, you can put the colours in, the fibres, it's amazing.
Yeah, so we've been able to do that whole thing from scratch, from the weight to the twist to the colours, and it has been really, really fun. So should we stop teasing them?
Yeah. What's been so exciting about this is Marie has asked me every step of the way, she's asked me what I required from it, what I would want from my own range of yarn, and because I'm a double knitter, I've wanted solid-ish colours and a high twist smooth fibre blend which isn't going to bloom too much because I didn't want to destroy the stitch definition of the patterns that people are putting together. So she's come up with, just like, because she's a genius, come up with all the right sort of things, and it's going to crinkle, but I'm very, very proud to announce and reveal for the first time ever Moody Hues The Sockmatician Edition. Look at these! Keen, eagle-eyed people among you are probably already noticing we've got a rainbow, ladies and gentlemen. But it's not just your everyday rainbow, so I'm going to just quickly dive in and...
After you I mean, I gave him this bag earlier today. He was so excited, he even got a little bit misty.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was, he's then, of course, I just threw the balls in the bag. He's now then put all the labels, I mean, not that we're OCD at all, all the labels, made sure all of them were all lined up beautifully.
Or now CDO, which is alphabetical the way it should be.
Yes, exactly.
So Marie's absolutely right. I got genuinely really... I might go again. A bit emotional when I saw these because this is a really, really very personal set of colours for me. So let me explain a little bit about it. So we talked about how many colours we could do in the range, and there weren't really many limitations, but we didn't want to do too many. No. I had in my head right from the start that I wanted to do, dropping on the floor, that I wanted to do the 6 colours of the Pride Rainbow flag, but I wanted them to be a little bit different, a little bit muted, a little bit darker, more brooding, that kind of thing. And I think, I'm filming on 2 cameras here, so forgive me if my attention is coming up and down. So for Marie's camera there, look, those are the colours. So that is your 6-colour Pride Rainbow flag. It is, and for my camera there, look at that. So you can see that there's a tonality to the colours. This is dyed with a process Marie informs me called monochroming, and it's different percentages of the same colour being sprayed onto the fibre as it comes.
So all of these are based on from 60% through to 100%. So there isn't a huge range between the tonality, and we've done that quite deliberately because, as you said in double knitting, I mean, when you're needing to create a pattern and have crispness, the last thing you need is lots of variation within your colours.
I've seen so many times that people with double knitting literally destroying the work they're putting into it. I always say, either you do the work or the yarn does the work. If you both try and do it, you cancel each other out.
Yeah.
So we've got the 6 colours there. We've also got these 2 here, which are the natural undyed fibre here. This is the it's hard to tell really because it's quite light here, but it's a very pale grey, beautiful pale grey, and this dark charcoal, almost bordering into a midnight blue kind of grey.
Yeah,
it's definitely grey.
It's definitely a dark charcoal blue grey in the bluer base, and we've done that quite deliberately because you require highlights and lowlights, contrast. You've got to have a positive and a negative and a contrast, and that's what those are there for.
Now we had backwards and forwards with the colours. Of course, we've been on different sides of the planet, so trying to define colour, talk about colour, and get it right for each other, so that you knew what I wanted and that I knew that what you said was possible was going to work with my vision for it, was kind of difficult. So what Marie has done, and she's an absolute genius, is she's built this. There's no 2 colours here that are not going to be beautiful together. They work so well. What is also, which I hadn't quite foreseen, is you can pair these 2 dark colours with any one colour as an accent, and you're going to get something beautiful.
I know for you, this was the one that you struggled with because you weren't sure about that, and that's the thing, is it enables you to actually not only give contrast, but at the same token, because those are monochromes and these are solids, you actually get a textural effect without actually having to add additional texture.
And the interesting, really this is undyed, and you say there's obviously no
colour on there at all,
but it's still got a tonality from it, because it's the possum, isn't it, that gives it the darker flavour.
And possum, for anyone that hasn't seen possum fibre, it's a fibre that isn't a monochromatic coloured fibre in itself. So in New Zealand we have possum fibre fur that is anything from almost sort of rabbit coloured all the way through to sort of grey coloured. So the fibre, you get this beautiful soft grain in this grey, which actually adds a bit of depth as well. So I'm
just thinking that 4 colours. There's not even a group of 4 colours that don't work well together here. This is, and I think partly because the colours are overdyed onto this grey base. So it's not your normal cream base. So you get this. There's a grey under edge to it, isn't there?
And there's a depth and
it ties them all together.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's literally, I can bring these colours together in any combination. Now, I think that's hopefully part of the planning, but also I think a little bit of serendipitousness as well.
Yeah, well, and a lot of it too, and I mean, when you work with colour, because I mean, I design colour ranges all the time, and so one of the things that I know that I'm always thinking of is that when you're working within the colour wheel, so I mean, that's the easy thing about a rainbow, the Pride Rainbow.
It goes through the whole thing.
It goes through everything, so you're covering the entire spectrum, but I'm also looking at complementary colours. So in this particular instance, you've got those 2 are complementary on the colour wheel, the opposites, and then you've got these red and the green, and then you've got the blue and the orange. So when you've got 3 sets of complementary colours already there, plus contrasts, but then you also have where they sit on a prismatic perspective.
So any of the 2 colours that are next to each other, adjacent on the rainbow,
exactly, are going to work. So what you're really doing is you're working with nature.
Yeah, which is amazing. And we all know that in nature, if you go for undyed shades, for example, alpaca can come in so many different shades, none of them clash with each other. Exactly. It all just works. But even the ones that are not either the complementaries and they're not even adjacent on the prism, they're just...
And the thing that I love too is also we've got warms and we've got cools and we've got neutrals here. So you've got
so the first half of the rainbow is your warm colours.
Yeah, you've got 3 warms, you've got 3 cools, and then you've got your 2 neutrals. So they all just work. And because sometimes, you can have things that are complementary, but sometimes, you do have opposites that attract. And when you're working with double knitting,
you want everything on both sides.
It's complementaries and contrasts.
Now, I'm not going to lie. I wasn't thinking of any of those things when I put the range together. We knew right from the start we were going to have the 2 neutrals as well to balance things out. But for me, what makes this such a personal thing is everybody knows I'm a man who loves a 6-colour Pride rainbow. It's all there. This is part of me. But I didn't want to go for the bright, zingy, camp, over the top stuff. I wanted it to be a bit more grown up, and I actually think these are very adult, mature colours that work together in that respect. But they also there's a darkness to it, and this is where I start to get emotional again, because the reason for that is because The Pride Rainbow flag is wonderful, but the movement behind it has not all been bright, zingy, colourful. There's a dark heritage and a dark past to this kind of thing, and I wanted that to be playing out through the colours so that that side of things doesn't get forgotten. People have fought and died under this flag, and that was really, really important to me. Can we talk about the name?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I love how you've come up with the names, because all of them are so personal, and it's part of the story. It's part of, because this collaboration wouldn't work unless we had a reason for what we were wanting to do, you know. And I think, and
the reason wasn't just, oh, it'd be fun, let's put some colours together. We both wanted to have a story right from the start. I've sort of bounced so many ideas off Marie along the way, and she's been able to gently say, I like where this is going, but because of the technical reasons, we might need to shape it in this way. And I said, oh, well, that's even better. You know, it's really worked very nicely that way. But let's talk about the colours. I'm not going to take them through in the order of the rainbow. I'm just going to sort of grab at them. So the natural and the palest colour is, oh, do you know, I'm going to give you the idea behind the suite as a whole. So all of the names, the colourway names, have been given the surnames of prominent LGBT activists throughout history, or important HIV pioneers and innovators. And obviously, anyone who knows me knows that that's all stuff that's very, very dear to my heart. Anyone who might not yet know who I am on Marie's social media, on that camera down there, I'm a gay man living with HIV. And so for me, these are very much part of my personal journey in life and my story as well. And that's been really important to me to make sure that that gets represented. So here is Milk. Now, Milk, of course, is Harvey Milk. Harvey Milk was the mayor of Castro Street. He was a very, very prominent politician and advocate in San Francisco in the 1960s, and he was assassinated for being who he was and doing what he did. I'm sure you've all seen the Sean Penn film Milk of the same name. So that's Harvey Milk, and we gave that one to the pale grey because it's the closest colour to milk. That was kind of obvious. The neutral here is the other neutral, the dark grey, and I love this because of her other name. So this is called De Lavery. Now, De Lavery is the surname of a lesbian drag king called Stormé De Lavery, and when you've got, this is like the colour of thunderclouds. Yeah. So she's it's just the most wonderful name in the world. Stormé De Lavery was at Stonewall, which was the Stonewall riots kicked off the gay rights movement, and it was when finally the gay community in New York said, enough is enough, we're not going to be put down, we're not going to be vilified anymore, we're going to stand up for ourselves. And it happened the night that Judy Garland died. In 1969 at Stonewall on Christopher Street in New York, which is a place I know very, very well. Stormé De Lavery was a lesbian drag king who was being very badly treated by the police who'd raided the place. And she had been clubbed over the head with a nightstick, and she was bleeding, and she was being led out to the vans to be taken away. And she turned to the crowd and she screamed at them, "Why don't you do something?" And they did. They rioted. We had Martha P. Johnson and, I'm so sorry, the other drag queen whose name I can't bring to mind at the moment, but they started the riots that gave us the gay rights liberation movement today. So, very important person in my people's history.
And I think you've segued beautifully.
I have, yes. So, of course, Stonewall was the catalyst for Stonewall was the death of Judy Garland, and here we have Garland.
So Yellow Brick Road.
Exactly. Everyone thought that I was going to be doing red as Garland for the Ruby Slippers, but there's a very good reason why I didn't. So I wanted Garland in there because she didn't know she was much of a gay rights activist, but she's very important as the catalyst for what went on. And of course, even today, people call euphemism for being gay as being a friend of Dorothy, and that's directly related to the Yellow Brick Road. And it's not just bright and yellow and zingy, it's much more mustardy here, it's darker and muted like all the rest of our colours. So that's Judy Garland, and she's very, very special. Then we have, I'm going to go with the purple. The purple is called Baker. Now that's not Cheryl Baker from Bucks Fizz, much as I love her. This is Gilbert Baker. Now, Gilbert Baker is the man who designed the Pride Rainbow flag in the first place. I felt we couldn't possibly base our entire suite of colours on his work without mentioning him. And he died about a year ago, so this is my tribute to him. Then we have the red. Now this red, oh, it shows it on the screen. It's showing very, very light colours. It's not quite as light as that. The pinky colours aren't quite as pink there. This is Montagnier. Now Montagnier is the surname of a scientist from France called Luc Montagnier. And he is the gentleman who in 1983 first identified the HIV virus. Of course, people were dying and nobody knew why, and a lot of work was being put into finding out what was causing it. And he identified this virus that was common to all of the men who had been dying of AIDS back then, and he identified the virus as what would come on to become AIDS later on in its life cycle. So he, for me, is very, very important. For anyone who doesn't know, I've been HIV positive for just over a year, and I've really, really sort of got on board as an activist, as a crusader for ending stigma and things like that. And I think without this gentleman here, we still might not know what it was that's causing people to get so ill back along. Then we come on to the last three, and they are this one, and this one. Now these are named after people who are very much still alive, and they're people who I have met. The green one here, this is called Featherstone, and it's named after the Liberal Democrat peer Lynn Featherstone, so UK-based politician. She was, before she became a peer in the House of Lords, she was my local MP, but she is also the lady who kick-started the revolution in Parliament in the UK and is the architect of same-sex marriage. The Marriage Act, same-sex couples, 2013 as it's officially called, was started by her. She was in coalition with the Conservative government at the time, and she felt that the Lib Dems probably wouldn't get as close to power as that ever again. So she started to talk to the Conservative Party and say we need to get same-sex marriage in the UK, and they all said it's not part of our manifesto, Minister, and she was slapped down. But she was really belligerent about it, and she managed to get a groundswell of interest around her so that the man at the top, who was our current Prime Minister at the time, David Cameron, couldn't ignore her anymore. And without her, I wouldn't be married to my husband. And in fact, Lynn came to my wedding, and she was wearing a dark green dress. So when I contacted her and said, I'm doing this, and I want to recognise your input into the wonderful thing that has happened in my life, which is being able to marry my husband, of the 6 colours of the rainbow flag, which one would you choose to have named after you? And she chose the dark green. So that's Lynn and the Featherstone. This one, the navy blue, it's sort of navy, it's kind of petrol-y, it's kind of...
Yeah, sort of a cadetish blue, actually.
Yeah, it was beautiful, it's lovely. This is named Bruton, B-R-U-T-O-N. This is named after Jane Bruton. Jane Bruton was, she's still very much alive, but at the time in the 80s, she was the ward sister on the very first dedicated AIDS ward, certainly in the UK, I believe in the whole world. And she revolutionised the care that was given to young men who were dying of AIDS at the time. Before the ward had opened, she had been the sister on another ward, and she watched a young man who was dying and frightened and lonely and having a terrible time, and he was in an isolation ward because, again, people were frightened of him and no one knew quite how this was passed on because Luke had not done his work yet. And she watched him being served his dinner, and the hospital porter rattled his trolley up to the door, put the plate on the floor and pushed it into the room with a broom. And she said, something has to change. And what they did is they set up this ward where people were treated with humanity, with dignity, respect. And I met Jane at a forum last year at my clinic when she was talking about her time on the Broderick ward. This is the ward, to put it in context for anyone who might remember, this is the ward that Princess Diana opened in 1987. And she made sort of the headlines because she was shaking hands with AIDS patients without wearing gloves. And that was all part of the changing of people's minds. It was a wonderful ward. They had the great love. The nurses who cared for these patients became like family members, and it was a total different thing. I I contacted Jane and I said, if the idea of being immortalised in yarn doesn't make you want to run screaming and jump into a compost heap with pillows over your head until I go away, which colour would you like? And she chose the dark blue. So that is Jane, and she's a wonderful, wonderful human being. And finally, we have this rusty orange, which is so, so beautiful. It's almost brown, but it's still very much in the orange world.
Sort of terracotta, definitely colouring. Yeah.
Oh, it's just it's got gold in it as well.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. This is Chapel. Now, Chapel, of the 3 people who are still living, Dr. Rupert Chapel still doesn't know about this. I haven't told him yet. On the 26th of June, 2017. Dr. Chapel had been working very, very hard to find out what was wrong with me and why I was so ill. And he's the man who gave me my diagnosis. So this is very special. And what's lovely about this is that in the original Pride rainbow flag, there were 8 stripes in the original Pride rainbow flag by Gilbert Baker. And they all have different meanings, and the orange stripe is for healing. Now, Dr. Rupert Chapel was wonderful, he was kind, he was compassionate, he was diligent, he was thorough, and overall I owe him an awful lot. I have seen him once since my diagnosis. It was about 8 months afterwards, and I went back for a completely unrelated thing, and he happened to be the doctor on duty there as well, and I was able to thank him for what he did, and I think he was really touched. I don't quite know how he'll feel about this, but I wanted to wait until I had everything to show him and say, look, this is your name and you are this. So as you can see, it's really personal. I can't get through it without welling up because it's very much part of my story and my journey. And for that, I can't thank you enough for allowing me to have the opportunity to make all of this come to life so beautifully well. It's amazing.
It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been so much fun. We've actually pulled it together in a relatively short space of time, because generally when we're creating ranges like this, it's lots of toing and froing and mucking around and carrying on.
We've been on opposite sides of the planet.
We have, and you've been writing and finishing a book. So yeah, the book. So there's been a lot going on, but it's something that is, we're really excited. And part of the reason we're doing the video is because these have gone live today. So you can actually get them from today, and that is at skeins.com, which is my other life. So SKEINZ, because you're in New Zealand.
When I saw that originally, I thought, oh, it's one of those awful things like Cutting Crew as a hair, spelled with K's, and then I saw the logo and I realised the N and Z were a different colour. I was like, oh, I get it, it's clever.
We have our moments. So it is actually available there now, so you can actually get that from today. And
they're 50-gram balls, by the way.
50-gram balls, 178 metres per ball, and we make all this on site. So this isn't, we've done this literally from fibre to finished yarn. As Nathan mentioned before, it is recycled fibre. So we produce about, at the moment we're running about 15 of our own lines of yarn as Skeins, but we're also a contract mill and we produce for other people, and we don't waste anything. Nothing gets wasted in our process, and you're going to see that in one day when you come through. And so this is made from any fibre that's left over from other batches doesn't actually disappear into the ether. We actually hold it. We get sort of small.
Did you scrape it off the machines?
No, not quite. Not quite that. That actually, to be fair, goes to pet bed filling and installation,
nice.
But we do have, like, at the end of a batch,
isn't it?
at the end of a card, with the gilling or the spinning process, we may have 2 or 3 kilos left here, 2 or 3 kilos left there of this absolutely stunningly beautiful fibre. So we hold that aside, and then once we get a sort of a certain amount of it that is a batchable amount, we then reblend it and create these yarns.
More than that, Marie was saying, because it's getting reblended with other fibres, so the possum's been added in,
yes, the possum,
the rest of it. So we think there's going to be Australian merino, there's going to be some
there's definitely alpaca in there, there's possum there.
Some silk.
I think possibly, I need to actually have a look at that. There could be, highly likely some silk, and there could possibly be some kid mohair in there, but definitely the majority of it is merino alpaca, and it's baby alpaca in there too.
Lovely.
So very fine micron baby alpaca, and possum.
And do you happen to know offhand what the percentage of the possum that went into the batch
I
would
think
be?
this one is around 10%.
So it's quite nice.
Yeah.
The possum and the alpaca certainly give the yarn a denseness. It's got the same. It's got a feeling of alpaca to it.
Yeah,
very
it
much
does.
so. It's definitely very soft. It's not. There's a few guard hairs if you look at it, but it's not really crazy. And it's just. It feels so lovely. I haven't yet had an opportunity to actually get any on the needles because I can't get past doing this. It's just so lovely. But what Marie was saying is because it gets, it's been blended and carded and combed once, so it comes to the machines the first time, but then it comes back again, and because we're blending different types of fibre again, it gets combed a second, a third, maybe a fourth time, and so the fibres are laying so parallel.
And there's a beautiful,
so
I mean, I should have actually bought it, and I've done a small little test swatch, and it's beautiful and smooth, a really gorgeous fabric. And I mean, the nice thing with it is we've done it in such a way, and we've got it sort of like with a slightly higher angle of twist on there, that you can actually knit a really nice smooth fabric with this, or you can actually play around. It'll be good for cabling, good for texturing, great for mosaic slips. Stitch definition, stitching, lace. Just be aware, and I know not so much because your followers definitely know this, but the Skeins ones maybe not so much. Nathan is called Sock Mortician because that has been part of who he is and what he broadcasts under. This is not a sock yarn. Just so you're aware, even though it is a finer weight.
It has the word sock on it, but that's only because it's the start of my logo there, Sock Mortician.
Yeah, so just so you're aware, this isn't a sock yarn.
It's a luxury bed sock yarn.
Very luxury bed sock yarn.
But it's not going to be very hard wearing,
No.
so it's not going to be out walking in your hiking boots and things like
But
that.
this is definitely, I mean, we've designed it in such a way because a lot of the double knitting patterns that you have are for wraps and cowls and things that are worn next to the face
And
of the
it's
skin.
going to feel lovely on the neck.
And you
Really
are going to be
beautiful.
able to wear this directly next to the skin.
Now I have to be very careful when I'm talking about crinkle and crackle in yarn because I have a husband who is the most sensitive person in the world to this kind of stuff, and he doesn't mind this.
Yeah, I was just going to say, how did you go with him?
He's
Because
all
I
right.
sent some forward samples up, so
he's been okay with it, and he's sort of done a bit of this and gone, oh yeah, I think that's okay. So there's definitely a slight edge of guard hair to it, but it's nothing like a Shetland or anything like that. And the softness underneath that absolutely overbalances any sort of tiny prickle that's
and
there.
because we're also what's known as a worsted process mill, so that is a bit kind of like traditional hand spinning, so long fibres that are all lined up and then spun together to create a yarn. So that's the worsted process. Now, because possum is a short fibre, which is only about an inch long, you quite often see possum fibre yarns in woolen spun process, which you see a lot of in the UK. Now, because this is a long fibre process, and even these ones, because I can tip, this is one of the ones you've been fondling the most, the possum will actually draw itself out of the yarn as you knit it, so it will bloom out, which
have a nice little
definitely helps. Oh, a lovely little halo.
And it's lovely as well because they're often the darker hairs, so they're going to be the ones. It gives almost like it's like a shadow bloom over the top. Isn't it? I've seen some possum fibre that has it's about 5 years old in someone else's cardigan recently, and it has this dark shadow over it, which is it really it plays very nicely in with what we're doing with the colours, which is about muting and brooding and taking things down. So Marie's line is called Moody Hues, and these are the Sock Mortician edition. Because it rhymed.
I thought it was quite a nice sort of alliteration.
It was Marie's original working title, and then I think you second guessed yourself and thought I probably wouldn't like it.
And then I thought you wouldn't like it, and then you were like,
you changed it to something else. What was it? I can't remember what it was going to be.
I
went, no, I thought it was brilliant. I think, so absolutely, the name is totally Marie's, and I love her for it. But we've put it all together. We've designed the ball bands on black rather than white and lifty, lighty stuff because we wanted everything to tie together. So between the two of us, we've tried to put as much thought as we possibly can, and I could not be more proud or more pleased with it. So it's retailing for
$9.95 New Zealand. So so if you're definitely buying from overseas at the moment, our dollar is rather sad, which is bad for us, good for you.
Welcome to the UK.
So good for you. So I mean, this, I think by the time it all shakes out, I think about $9.95 New Zealand is somewhere in the vicinity of about
550.
550
yeah,
pounds.
£5.50, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
For 50 grams.
For 50 grams. So, and we've done 50 grams quite deliberately too, because at 178 metres per ball, particularly if you're going to be doing double knit colour work, quite often you'll have a main colour that you'll need plenty of colour work with, but you'll only need one ball for a contrast. And there's nothing worse than buying a 100 gram skein of something and you're only using, you know,
exactly.
30 grams.
We could have gone for 100, but we're not going for socks. That was
No.
one of the reasons we don't need to. But if you think, if you were to buy just any two of these, that's going to be a beautiful double knitted hat right there.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to need any more, and you won't get a great deal left over.
No.
But you certainly won't be playing yarn chicken with it.
Absolutely.
So it's
yeah.
the perfect thing for small projects like that.
Yeah.
But also, if you are making a jumper, and I plan to, then you can have your one or two neutrals for the majority
Yeah.
of it, with some stripes or some accents with one or two or six of the other colours.
And just to give you an idea, I mean, I would, the sample I knitted up, I used a 3.5mm needle. The needle range on this is 3.25 or even 3 actually.
Yeah.
I quite like a bit of a firmer gauge.
And for double knitting as well, you want to go down a needle size.
From 3mm up to 3.75 at your outside. And if you were to knit a jumper, for example, or a cardigan, so for someone Nathan's size, you'd only be needing, for a main colour, you'd only be looking at about 5 or 6 of these main colour with whatever contrast you need. For someone my size, and there's a lot of fabulousness here.
The more the better.
Exactly. Well, but again, you'd only be looking at 8 of the of a main colour. Like one colour would do 8 would do it,
which is amazing. And also
So
the one thing I want to say as well, the meterage is 178. I know you mentioned that per 50 grams. So it's a little bit thicker than your average 4-ply. It's listed as a 4-ply, but it's got a bounce to it, which gives it a feeling of more loft. But also because of the weight there, it's a little bit shorter, which means it's a little bit thicker. And I think you're not going to feel that a garment made out of this is too lightweight.
No.
The way you can with some of the fine fingering and sock weight yarns, you can feel that it's a little bit too lacy.
The testing that I did, swatch testing that I've done so far, I found around 26. I think I've got 28 on here because
28
because that's the standard for a 4-ply. I personally found that actually 26 was about right. Which most people can achieve on a 3.5mm needle. So
watch this space for my absolute rainbow sock petition jumper. Don't hold your breath, but watch this space. It will be coming up soon, I think. Thank you, Marie. It's like we should get a job on QVC.
Absolutely. Yarn VC. Woo!
Yarn VC. Oh, that'd be amazing. So at skeins.com. There's no NZ in the thing. So you're skeins.com is where you can find it, and it's called Moody Hughes. Is it Sock Petition Edition or just Sock Petition Edition?
Sock Petition Edition.
Sock Petition Edition. And it's available right now.
So